My name is Becca Keats, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on how strategic family therapy techniques, Christianity, and education can work together to make a harmonious educational experience. This presentation is made specifically for Counseling 881. Thank you for listening, and let's get started. Before we can talk about how strategic family therapy works together with Christianity and education, it is important for us to define what strategic family therapy is. In strategic family therapy, the therapist is focused on a goal-directed, problem-focused interventions in order to solve a problem. Strategic family therapy is like a chessboard in the sense that the therapist uses strategy to target a specific problem, then solve it. This goal translates really well to education. In other words, an educator can easily use strategic therapy techniques to create an educational seminar that targets a specific problem in families. A good example would be an educator incorporating strategic family therapy techniques into a class about finances in order to help solve the problem of families not knowing how to handle their money correctly. Strategic therapy includes techniques such as reframing, directives, paradox, and ordeals. Although there are many subtleties and complexities to strategic family therapy, I will choose to discuss my favorite technique, reframing. One of my personal favorite techniques for both personal and educational use is called reframing. In strategic family therapy, reframing is simply stating a problem in a different way in order to change a person's perspective into a more favorable light. For example, when a person complains of being anxious, a helpful reframe might be to instead refer to it as a nervous response. Although reframing does not actually change the problem itself, it can change the perspective on the problem and therefore give the person hope and strength to face the challenge. Reframing is a technique that everyone should learn. In the future, I would like to incorporate this skill in most, if not every class or interaction that I have with families. Mindset and perspective is very powerful, and reframing makes such a positive impact on mindset. In the next slide, we will discuss how reframing is actually a technique that aligns with Christian scripture. One of the reasons that reframing is one of my personal favorite techniques is because a lot of the principles found in reframing are actually backed by scripture. For example, Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." In other words, what we say has power. Although reframing a problem does not exactly change the problem itself, it does bring hope and strength enough to tackle it. I believe that reframing will have a central place in the skills that I teach in the future because it is backed up both by science and biblical principle. In my opinion, the Christian life is all about overcoming the impossible with the help and love of Jesus Christ. Overcoming becomes more possible when the Christian is taught to see problems like Jesus sees them, and that usually requires a lot of reframing. Remember, with Jesus, nothing is impossible. Often, we look at the world and see what is wrong with it, but Jesus sees his children that he dearly loves. As the book of James, chapter 1, verse 2 through 4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." For us, doing things like counting our challenges as joy usually does not come naturally. But when we use tools like reframing our problem, we can align ourselves with Scripture and amazing things can happen. In my future classes, I hope to incorporate reframing in most of the education I'm involved with, as reframing is a very useful skill in most situations. Reframing could be a skill I focus on in a seminar that is dedicated to helping people build skills. In addition, I think reframing could be a very helpful technique for parents to know. It would be very helpful for parents to be able to teach their children how to view challenges in a light that is aligned with Scripture and their ability to overcome through the power of Jesus Christ. In addition, I would use reframing to change my own perspective on common issues I educate on. In other words, if I do not have a perspective that is aligned with Scripture, then I may accidentally teach the wrong mindset to those I teach. For example, if I look at adultery as only a marriage ender and not a challenge that brought marital issues to the forefront in order for them to be dealt with, I may never see any couple survive adultery because of my own lack of reframing. Overall, reframing is a helpful educational and personal tool for overcoming challenges and changing perspectives on those challenges. Here are some of the references that I used for this presentation. Although strategic family therapy is very complex and has many different techniques to it, I hope you enjoyed my in-depth look at what reframing can do for education and for Christian education. Thank you so much for listening.